evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Mahoning Drive-In Theater, the largest single-screen drive-in in the United States. We're certainly glad you could be with us this evening, and don't forget the concession stand is open with all kinds of great things to eat and drink.
89.3 Mahoning Drive-In Radio, your old friend Virgil back once again for another exciting episode of the podcast. As you guys know, the only podcast dedicated to the love and revival of our beloved drive-in culture, joined as always by my co-host and general manager extraordinaire, Mark. Say hello, my friend.
Hello.
And that was a good one. And also joining us today, we got Geoff, who I lovingly refer to as Geoff. Say hello, Geoff.
Hey there. Hello.
Hi.
Here's the confusion.
Yes, that's right.
This
It
is what we
happens
deal
immediately.
with on the lot. We haven't introduced our guest yet, but you're experiencing in verite form what happens when both of these guys are together at the drive-in.
Yep, when I yell out Geoff, both of these guys come running. So, spoiler alert, we do have our good friend, film collector, and film aficionado, and all-around great guy, Geoffrey Cee, in the house. Say hello, Geoffrey Cee, so they know what you sound like.
Yeah, now I have it correct now. Okay. Hello, everyone.
That was a good, it's gonna happen multiple times during this show, so we might as well just get it out of the way now. So our relationship, Geoff, personally, me and you, goes back, gosh, I'm gonna say at least 7 years. Our first trip, maybe second trip to Monster Mania, we had a guy come up to us. Of course, we're at Monster Mania to promote, this might have been 2015, 2016, out to promote what we do, 35 millimeter for life, only retro drive-in, all that stuff, set up at a vendor booth. And up comes a guy who's holding a film reel. I believe it was a whole can. You had the whole entire can with you. And right away, we hit it off. This guy who literally lives and breathes 35 millimeter and his connection to Monster Mania and the film community, it's pretty precious. So why don't you give us a little rundown of what's your connection with Monster Mania, being that that's how we originally connected?
Well, I do audio-visual work along with Scott Kemley for Monster Mania, and I've been doing that kind of work with Monster Mania since the first one at the Clarion Inn. So that's probably like 2001, 2002.
Yeah, they're up to what, like 45 of these things now?
Like 53, 54 or something like that.
Crazy.
Yeah, they're going to have 4 of this year. I have been showing movies with them for quite a few years. The interesting thing is that they give me Blu-rays and DVDs to show. But if we have a film print, we would prefer to show the film print. Right. It's a lot more fun to run. And a lot of people really appreciate seeing those reels spinning and hearing the sound of that projector in the background while they're enjoying their favorite horror film. So that really adds to the ambiance. That adds to the whole experience of that.
Oh, absolutely. So, you know, it's no secret that you are incredibly passionate about 35 millimeter. It's why I fell in love with you. I've never heard somebody speak so passionately about 35 millimeter. So let's go back a little bit before we go all the way back. So 2001, were you like involved in a film community? Were you a collector at that point when Dave and the Monster Mania crew came to you?
Yeah, I was a collector at that point. In fact, I was showing movies at another movie conference. It's a classic horror movie conference, Monster Bash. And that's hosted by Ron Adams and the family, the Adams family, I like to call them.
I love
it. Right outside of Pittsburgh. They started, I believe in, I forgot where they started. When I got there, they were in Butler, Pennsylvania, and now they're in Cranberry Township because the show has grown so much. And in showing movies, we showed a lot of 16 millimeter movies, Karloff, Creature from the Black Lagoon, the whole nine, Bela Lugosi, those kinds of movies. And Dave Hagen of Monster Mania was a vendor there and a frequent visitor of Monster Bash at the time. And that's when he thought he wanted to do a show, his own show in Cherry Hill, New Jersey.
Yeah.
And he saw what I did with the 16 millimeter projection and everything like that. And he asked me if I would be interested in showing movies at his event. And of course, before he finished asking, I just immediately said, yes. Yeah. Hey, Geoffrey, would you? Yes.
Well, where does this love of film come from? Like, take us way back now. You know, what was that first experience with 35 millimeter or working with film that really kind of connected your heart? And when did you start collecting?
You know, it really started with my father and grandfather, who used to take home movies with their standard 8 millimeter cameras, respectively. And when we had movie night at our house or our grandparents' house, I was just so fascinated by these reels and this black tape that I didn't know was film come to life on the big screen. So it started when I was quite young. I was probably about 3 or 4 when I saw that. And just every time we had a movie night, it was a treat to a 3 or 4-year-old little dude.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And so you look at it's 400 foot of film, and to a 3-year-old, 400 feet of film is huge. You know, like, oh.
Endless.
Yeah.
I don't think about that, you know, because I didn't have that in my childhood, but I'm sure it's the same case.
Yeah, it's
for all you guys is, you know, to experience a home movie at a certain point, you weren't popping in the VHS. You were running your home video, your home projector.
Running a home projector. And then when we lived in Bronx, New York at the time, and my grandparents were in South Jersey, so we went between New York and New Jersey a lot. And when we moved to Maryland, I was 10 years old, went to the elementary school, Bryan Woods Elementary School in Columbia, Maryland. The media center specialist, Bryan Woods Elementary School, was an avid film collector. Wow. Major. And so to a 10-year-old, watching these big, gigantic 16 millimeter reels, that to me, that's monstrous to me. Like, whoa. And to a kid, lack of a better term, I thought it was neato.
Well, that is enough to hook you, you know, the magical experience of film, you know, and the discovery of the magic of how it actually works is something that a lot of people really don't get to discover. You know, they don't get to peek into booths. They never had that experience as a kid. So when they come in and look at our film reels running, it's really like magic on display, where they've never been able to see behind that curtain. But
I tell you.
So obviously, I take it that teacher was a bit of an inspiration.
Oh yeah, quite an inspiration and quite an influence in my film collecting. That's when I discovered that I could actually own a print of Bugs Bunny Roadrunner movie or own a Laurel and Hardy movie.
Yes.
No idea where to get them, but I could actually own a print, you know. So he was, and we still keep in touch to this day, as a matter of fact.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yep, we still keep in touch to this day. We're Facebook friends and the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
And I acquired his collection back in 2011.
Stop. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. See, that's the perfect crossover. I've talked about it several times on this podcast. Being physical media lovers and collectors, as we all are and many of our listeners are, you always worry about what's going to happen with this precious collection of mine, you know, years down the line. But, you know, it's always great to hear when a precious collection goes into the right hands or loving hands, you know.
Yeah. I was quite honored and privileged to acquire the collection. It was really beyond my wildest dreams, because as a child looking at these films, there's no way you could have told me that one day it would be mine. No way. In
crazy.
fact, I still consider it his collection, but it's in my possession right now.
It'll forever be his. You're just housing it, you know.
I'm just housing it forever. Yes.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Well, the same thing happened with me with my uncle's record collection. He had this large record collection when I was a kid, and it was the records.
Wow.
I would borrow them, and it's what really inspired me to have a big record collection. And eventually, not long before he passed away, he gave them to me, which was like this momentous thing for me. Like the collection that inspired mine was now technically mine, but I have done the same thing. I keep them separate. Like I don't integrate them into my stacks. That's his record collection that I'm now tending to.
Right. Yeah, I totally understand that. and because it's from someone who inspired you, someone you love, it makes you appreciate that more.
Yeah,
it really does. It really does. So yes, I will cherish these films for sure, as you will cherish your records.
Absolutely,
that's right. As we all cherish our physical media. So it sounds like the physical media bug bit you early and the love of movies bit you early. Do you have a vivid memory of movie going as a youth that kind of hooked you? I always kind of ask, is there a drive-in experience? But, you know, for me, the drive-in was like a special treat. As often as we got there, you know. It was really going to some of these movie houses that was more regular as a kid. So.
Oh yeah. Well, my first drive-in experience happened in the early 70s, and I really don't remember what movies I saw, but there's one I remember seeing, a double feature I remember seeing, and that was at the Whetstone Drive-In in Bronx, New York. It was a double feature, Superfly Part 2. I believe it was a sequel to Superfly, and Lady Sings the Blues. I was 8 years old.
Boy.
wow.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
They don't do it like that no more, baby.
Nope, they sure don't. And my first experience face-to-face with 35 millimeter film was at the Columbia Cinema in 1975 when Disney had their re-release of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Yes.
That was when I was introduced to 6,000 foot reels.
Oh boy! So what, were you invited into the booth? Was it a situation where you happened to catch a glimpse? How did that all work out?
Well, you know, I went to the manager as a kid, and I asked the manager if I could see the projection booth.
Oh, I love it.
And he walked me up there. My mother and I were together, and he escorted us upstairs to the projection booth and introduced us to the projectionist, really good friend of mine named Chuck Barron. And Chuck Barron showed me those 6,000 foot reels that Snow White was housed on. And of course, as a kid, I was just totally blown away. I was done. Stick me with a fork, baby. I'm done.
So you went from a 400-foot 8mm reel to a 6,000-foot 35mm reel.
Yeah, that I couldn't carry. He took the 6,000-foot reel full of film and put it in my hands to see if I could try to hold it, and I couldn't hold it.
Oh my God. I love that you guys are still
Friends. That is so you, Geoff. You know, like you are forever the connection and loving character in people's lives.
Oh, it's so much fun. I remember coming into the Mahoning Drive-In. I paid my money. I even paid the extra money to stay there, and I did not see one frame of film.
That happens every time you come, which is worth mentioning. So whenever Geoffrey comes to the lot, it's an exciting moment for all of us. Word spreads around the whole entire crew. Hey, Geoffrey's coming tonight. Geoffrey's coming tonight. Because there is something about you that is such a light of positivity. Doesn't matter what the weather's like, what the condition is in the world. Geoffrey Cee is coming in, all smiles, all hugs, and just like lifting the night up. And it's true. We spend all night chatting and laughing in the projection booth and never watch a frame of that film, at least on the lot. You're right.
Nope, never watch a frame of film.
That's exactly it. Every time he comes, it doesn't matter what the weather's doing outside because he's always in the booth.
I'm always in the booth talking to Geoffrey number one. Geoff number one.
Yeah. Yep. And we love it. We love it. It
Oh,
really is a
absolutely
treat.
love it.
It's a treat. And, we've said it many times on this podcast. More than anything, running this drive-in and the Mahoning experience has brought us endless connections in the film community and brought us relationships and friendships that'll last a lifetime. And you are one of them.
Sure.
That is such a gift. Why don't we stick back a little bit more? So what theaters did you frequent? You mentioned the indoor. Did you have some drive-ins that you regulared as a kid?
Let me see. There was the Catonsville Drive-In, which was on Route 40 in Catonsville, off of 695. So I went to that one, and there was another one in College Park. There is now a Costco's on that lot now. I forgot the name of that drive-in because I only went there once. But Edmontonville Drive-In was the one I used to frequent all the time. And, of course, there's Benji's in Middle River, Maryland.
Oh, yeah.
And, they switched over to digital, but they do show 35 millimeter trailers and snipes every now and then. To be honest with you, that's the part I like the best. But anyway,
he hasn't abandoned it. We talk about Benji's all the time, and how he runs his business, talk about it internally and also with customers, and how he runs his business. And people do have to remember he's right on the edge of a major city. And, if he doesn't run that place as stern as possible, he would get eaten alive, absolutely eaten alive. So,
he would.
Yeah, that's amazing.
He would. But he's really passionate about what he does, and I certainly have to give him credit for that. He certainly runs a tight ship.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So clearly your love of film runs really deep. I'm really interested in the collecting aspect. So do you remember the first 35 millimeter film that you actually purchased for your personal collection?
Yes, I do. And it was a gift, actually. It was a gift from a fellow DJ who was in Maryland. He moved to North Carolina, and he played in a nightclub that was once a movie theater.
Yes.
And he brought all of these film reels up because he knew I collected. And I've collected actively since 1995 or 96.
Yeah.
And my first 35 millimeter feature was Jerry Maguire, and I got it for free from my buddy in North Carolina.
Jerry Maguire, money, baby. Show me
the money. Now, my first 35 millimeter films went into a place. It was July 1995. I remember that because I put it in my database. Because when you have a collection, you have to keep track of this stuff.
You gotta have one, right?
Gotta have one. And made what I called a senseless purchase. A senseless purchase is something that I had liked to do once a year, and it was something that I treated myself. It didn't have to make sense. It didn't have to be practical. I just made the purchase, spent the money because I wanted it, and I worked hard for it.
That's right.
Instead, I walked into a place called Rance's Relics. That's in Maryland. Rance's Relics. What is the place? Think Sanford and Son. Okay. I was walking around. I saw all these treasures, and then I looked down and I saw a 6,000 foot reel of 35 millimeter film. What?
Staring at
Mind you, I didn't have a projector to run it. I had no idea of 35 millimeter projectors being purchased by consumers.
Yeah.
But I didn't care. And then I looked around. I saw another 35 millimeter 6,000 foot reel. I said, oh boy. So I walked right up to Mr. Rance. I said, sir, do you have any more of these? Oh yeah, they're around here somewhere. Okay. So I went back on the treasure hunt and found 2 more 6,000-foot reels full of film. 4 reels, 4 hours of film all together.
Come on.
No idea what was on them. Didn't care. It was going to be my senseless purchase for the year.
It will be mine.
That's right. That's right. Mine. $230 later, I walked out with 4 reels.
Not bad. Not bad. Wheeling and dealing.
Yep. And they stacked for 20 years without being ran.
It's crazy.
Until I got a 35 millimeter projector in the house.
So did you learn to run film? How did you learn to run film? And when did you make that decision to take the step to bring a 35 into the house, which just, if people know the setup of a 35 millimeter projector, that's an undertaking.
Yeah, biggest mistake of my life. But anyway.
The bug really bit you, man.
Man, I'll tell you, the bug is more like a drug. I'm telling you, 35 millimeter is addictive. But yeah, I decided to actually take the collection when somebody actually offered me a 35 millimeter projector. He worked at a theater, Outwood. They had 8 35 millimeter projectors sitting there collecting dust, doing nothing. And he kept them. They were going to trash them. He said, hey, wait a minute. Can I have them? Sure. Take them. So he got them and sold me one for a very cheap price. I don't even think I paid $100 for it. Wow. He gave me a 35 millimeter projector, all the parts and everything. And you would think, like 16 millimeters, you just crank the arms up and then turn on the power switch, the motor and the light switch, and it's running. No, 35 millimeter film, you have to assemble it and make adjustments. Oh my goodness. But that was a major undertaking. That was worth it. I have it up and running, and man, does it look good on the screen.
What is it about 35 millimeter, and especially working with it and collecting it? What is it for you that really makes it stand out, or is, as you said, addictive in that way that you almost have to chase it?
You know, the picture quality is just unbelievable. I've seen 16 and I've seen Super 8 and Standard 8. And if done right, the picture quality is very good. But there's something about the clarity of 35 millimeter film. And not only the clarity in the picture, but the extreme clarity in sound. Because of the speed of the film, there's more room for the analog sound to go. And the analog sound is in stereo. And they have the digital data printed on the film. You could have digital film or digital sound, surround sound, 5.1 or 7.1 running in your house. And unlike 16, which I absolutely love, 35 millimeter film really looks and sounds like you're sitting in a professional movie theater. It really does. It really does.
That's the sell. You know, it's speaking
really
to a younger audience on why 35 millimeter is precious and why 35 millimeter is a draw. It's difficult because they live in an age where they almost can't wrap their mind around respecting that past experience that all of us had. It is beaten into our brains that the 35 millimeter look, feel, smell, touch, everything about it.
Exactly. Everything.
It is the theater experience. So when that shift happened for us into digital, it really robbed us of that aesthetic, you know, of seeing films. So I do get that. I do get that in a big way.
Yeah. But you know what I like, though? I really love that the kids who have never seen this technology or before, or who are not exposed to that technology, just look at it so wide-eyed and so fascinated at those reels spinning. They really enjoy looking at the physical medium. I've seen it at the Mahoning, and I've seen it for myself. they're really fascinated, and a lot of them just want to sit next to the projector and watch it run while they're looking at their favorite movie. So it's amazing.
It's a magic trick on display, and I think that is
Right.
incredibly unique to our open door policy, allowing people to come in and look at the projectors and also breeze by during the show and see the guys at work. It's something that can be transformative, as any visit to a drive-in or movie theater or cinema experience can be. But Mark has told that story about being invited on a class trip and going into a projection booth, and it just it opens your eyes to what movies and the movie-going experience is and what's behind that, you know?
Yeah. And knowing what's behind it, really, you look at movies differently, knowing what's behind the presentation and knowing what's going on. It's just, you're looking at the movie differently now, at least for me anyway. I mean, before I went into the booth, I didn't notice cue marks or splices. There were real changes.
Once
Now you can unsee it.
Yeah, you never don't see those again. Sometimes I'll tell people about them.
Right.
And I'll say, I'm going to tell you something now, but it might just ruin theatrical movies for you forever in 35 millimeter.
Right.
Because you'll never not see it.
Right.
That's one of the most important things I do, is leave that projection booth door open so that when people walk by, they can see that projector that's right next to the door. That, I think, is very important.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it passes on the gift and love of what we do. As great as the movies are, as fantastic as the programming can be, we are a preservation house. And every night that somebody is on that lot, what truly makes the Mahoning special is that presentation and that 35 millimeter. And you know, it's been well documented for us, the crossover as well of preserving a projectionist and what a projectionist does, which, you know, it's something well worth preserving. And that's a good segue. Did you ever work as a professional projectionist, Geoffrey?
Not really. The only time I worked as a professional, quote unquote professional, was one time, that one Halloween weekend at the Mahoning.
Oh my gosh, what an honor. I always assumed you had this like long run of working at theaters, and you know, you came in and out, and then you eventually landed in the collector scene and started running stuff for Dave and the Monster Mania. It's that's why I love doing this podcast. It really does open the door to somebody's history and like brightens that a bit.
Oh, I tell you, and you know what? I had always wanted to be a projectionist, but they always had the unions, and it was very, very tight knit, and so I couldn't get in. I said, oh well, I might as well try something else. But the passion of movies was still there, and I still collected. And I guess I would say all the shows that I have done over the years, I guess I should consider that quote unquote professional. I mean, technically that is professional. I'm getting hired to set up equipment and run film.
That's right. Every show you put on that's a success, that's a job well done.
You had a good point about the union, because back then, even the Mahoning Drive-In Theater was a union projection booth. So unless you had a license and were a member of the union, you had no chance at being a projectionist.
Right. I could not do it. Yeah. Not like these kids today. You know, these kids, 15, 16 years old, they get a job and then work the popcorn and refreshment stands and then go upstairs to the booth and press a button, and that's it, you know?
Oh yeah.
Right. And that's why it's a lost art, because there's no skill involved anymore. Anybody can press a button and then adjust the sound, and you walk away from it and leave it alone. Right. Anybody can be trained to do that. But to run 35 millimeter, you have to have some skill involved.
Right. And some troubleshooting skills as well.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the thing is, you know, I see it. Not anybody can be a projectionist. I think you really do have to have a specific skill set and, more importantly, a patience to work with this material, because speaking of the new generation, everything's user friendly. Everything is one step. Everything is intuitive. where
Right.
learning a trait and working with a machine that is very specific, it's a lost idea for a certain amount of people where it's like, yeah, I couldn't even wrap my head around wrapping film into this thing, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And how about building a presentation? I mean, right now you just click and drag your trailers along with your feature, but as a projectionist, you had to actually splice all the reels together, multiple reels together, and then splice multiple trailers at the top and snipes and everything else. That
Yep.
was a skill.
And as a collector, you got to locate all those trailers first, digging through piles. And...
Yeah, that's locate in terms of buying and acquiring, and then also locating them in your house. Where the hell?
Yes. Yes.
Where did I put that snipe?
Right. Where did
as difficult as storing film is, you know, the storing of trailers and, you know, finding them for your use, it's crazy, you know? There was never an easy system, filing system, anything like that. It's just, you know, anytime you need something, you're just digging.
Oh, yeah. I acquired quite a few trailers, probably 2,500 trailers back in 2018, and I'm still going through them.
God, I love it. It's awesome.
Oh yeah.
So we had the pleasure of talking to Dave from the Lunar Drive-In. He said that there were years as a film collector that he had to keep his mouth shut, and he almost felt that he couldn't even share the fact that he had these prints because he thought the studios would get upset about it. But now there has been quite a shift over the last, now going on 10 years since the digital shift, that private collectors are really looked at as an asset in the 35 millimeter community, and now has been embraced by the studio system. So much so that Dave told us a story that he sold one of his 35 millimeter prints, and it turns out it was going to a major studio for them to have in their archive.
Wow, how about that?
Yeah, so it's like, you know, and we even requesting film, you know, there's many times where we will say we're sourcing this print from a private collection, and it saves them on the hassle of having to go and dig it up and inspect it and all that.
I mean, they still get their percentage or their rental fee, and they just don't have to deal with shipping and receiving and storing and cataloging and all that stuff. So they're just, it's interesting, because I had heard that years ago it was bandied about that if you had any New World cinema prints, old Corman films, the word on the street in the collector's world was that they would seize those and bandsaw them, because they didn't want anybody, it's their property, they didn't want anybody else owning it. And there was a great book called 1,000 Cuts a few years ago that was about the world of film collectors and how it was this underground thing for many years. And there were FBI raids, and people were wanted because they were collectors. Did you collect in that sense of under that shadow at any point, or by the time you were collecting, was it much more mellow?
Yeah,
by the time I started collecting, it was 96. So it was much more mellow. I did not have to worry about that. And I didn't find out about any of that until years later. And I heard Roddy McDowell, for example, I believe he was raided, and somebody dropped a dime on him about his collection, and he was raided, and films are confiscated. Crazy. And there's a few other people too that were investigated for having movie collections.
And for the longest time, a lot of collectors were pretty cagey about what they even owned. Like, if they trusted you, they would tell you what prints they had, because they didn't want it to get back to the studios, who might try to reclaim that property.
Oh, yeah.
It makes total sense. You know, I just brought it up because for that reason, Mark, did that affect your decision as far as where you purchase things, letting people rent them out and loaning them out? I feel like that kind of pressure or worry has been lifted almost fully at this point.
Oh, yeah. It sounds like a total 180 degree as far as studios go, because now to hear that they are really appreciating and embracing film collectors or archivists, really, then that's a wonderful thing. It's a win-win situation for all of us, really, for everyone.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Your love of film, as we've talked about, it runs very deep, almost throughout your whole entire life.
Oh yeah.
I have certainly taken inspiration from your passion for film, but one thing I blatantly stole from you. We started, and I'm going to give you credit for it now.
It was a print of Fort Apache, the Bronx. Next time you look for it, gone.
Right.
We have a wall of fame, as we call it, at the Mahoning Drive-In Theater, of signed film reels. And
Yes.
literally the coolest thing I may have ever seen in my life happened on maybe that first time I met you, or the second time at Monster Mania, when you came up and you tell the story. You had a signed, I don't know if it was a canister or a reel, but it blew my hair back.
Yeah, I don't know which film I had, but I have quite a few signed prints of film. I might have been, you know what? I might have brought Night of the Living Dead with me that night.
Was it. That was it.
Yes, I had Night of the Living Dead signed. You know, it's a funny story about this one. I was at another horror movie conference here in Maryland. It was Horrorfind by the late Michael Roden, rest in peace. He had the Horrifying conference, and he had guests for various, well, what horror movie conference doesn't? So we were showing The Living Dead on a big inflatable blow-up screen. Outside, just beautiful night. And it's 3 reels. Now, the way I run movies, well, if one reel ends, boom, go right into another. No interruptions.
Yep.
So this time, I let the reel run out. Reel 1. One is 20 minutes. I let the film run out. The outdoor lights came on. Nowhere coming in front of the screen was the entire cast of Night of the Living Dead.
No.
Yep.
Oh my God.
The entire cast, and they were all fascinated that there was a film print of Night of the Living Dead being shown of a movie they had starred in or played in some years early. So I've had the pleasure of them all autographing the print, and it's all on the front can right now. In fact, boy, if we were on TV, I'm getting this right now. Yep, there it is. So I'm looking, I'm having this, I'm holding this canister in my hand right now.
I love that so much. Like, it was one of those things that I saw and I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. Like, when you approach a celebrity guest at one of these conventions, it is like, it's a corral. You know, they've been talking to people for days. And, you know, probably like the pro tip is to find a way to stand out, find a way to walk up to a star with a 35 print. It must just blow people's hair back. Is that
really
a thing of yours? I mean, being in the Monster Mania scene for so long, God, I imagine the experiences are crazy. But are you an autograph guy? Are you a celebrity guy?
No, I'm not a big autograph guy, except for when it comes to signing films.
Yeah.
And I started, I said, wait a minute, get these things signed. So that's when I became an autograph guy in that respect.
That's
and
so good.
I got the bug when I got my first movie signed, 16 millimeter film signed in 2003. And that was Kevin McCarthy. The movie was called The Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Yes. Which we are playing this year for our remake.
Oh,
yeah.
I love it. Oh, yeah, that's great. Yeah, I'll be there for that. And so, you know, as a certificate of authenticity, I asked Mr. McCarthy to pose with me with the signed film can in a picture. And we still had that picture. In fact, it's on Facebook.
Let's talk a little bit about the Mahoning connection, the Mahoning memories. So I take it the first time you heard about us was at that connection at Monster Mania?
Yes, it was Monster Mania. Yeah, and I could not wait to get there. It was early 2018. I think March 2018 is when I heard of Mahoning. And that's when I met you guys at the table.
It feels like a lifetime ago. Do you remember the first pilgrimage that you made to the Mahoning?
Oh, yeah, sure do. That was the closing night, October 2018. And you had a double feature, Scream and The Craft.
Yes, which we actually brought back.
Yes.
That is one that we will certainly bring back in the future. And what was your experience coming to the Mahoning compared to maybe some of your childhood driving experiences?
Oh, man, totally blown away. I mean, like I said, that was the experience where I did not see one frame of film. That's when I met Geoff, and that's when I met everyone else and most of the staff. I was in that booth the whole night. In fact, it was raining out there or not raining, but it was wet. It was wet out that night, too.
I remember that. that. Yeah, you were in there the whole.
Yep, I was in there the whole time. Did not watch one frame of film. That was my experience at the Mahoning Drive-In. It was the best one because I got to hang out in the booth the whole night instead of being a normal person sitting in the car enjoying the film.
It was a lot of fun.
For some people, they are so. It almost feels like they've been a part of the family when they come in. You know, it's like, well, this guy's meant to be here, and that was certainly the case when you came on board. Again, you're such a positive guy. Where does that come from, by the way? Like, I really do aspire to be a Geoffrey Cee every day I wake up.
You know what? It just takes less energy to be happy. It takes too much energy to be pissed off. I don't have a lot of energy, so I'll just be happy and save my energy.
I so love that, because just like everybody in life, you've had, the ups, the downs, and you do not wear any of that on your sleeve. And that's what I really do love about you. So I want to give the guys a chance to talk a little bit about film with you before we jump over into your other life, DJ Geoffrey Cee. So Geoff, do you got anything for Geoffrey?
I'm trying to think of a couple good questions. Nothing right off the tip of my head. You hit it pretty good, Virgil. It's always been a pleasure to have Geoff around. We always look forward to him coming up because it's just, the atmosphere in the booth, because he's always cracking jokes. He's always having a good time. He really lifts the spirit of the place. And I assume you're already planning to come up a couple times this year, huh, Geoff?
Oh, yeah. Starting with opening night. Wizard of Oz and Willy Wonka. Oh, yeah. I want to see those beautiful LPP prints. Absolutely.
but I know you probably won't see a frame of film.
Not at all. Not at all. I'll be looking at a frame of film in the lights.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
That's a nice place right there. Yeah, the porthole view. That's right.
Best view in the house, right?
Yep.
Yeah, look, admiring the soundtrack, Oh, that's a variable density soundtrack right there.
Oh, stop. Look at that squiggle.
Look at that squiggle. Wow, is that double ranked?
Yowzers. Well, how about you? How about you, Mark? Any questions for?
Well, Geoff tries to think up good questions. I'll ask a couple of terrible ones. First of all, you're dropping the jargon. Foxholes. I heard you mention foxholes on
foxholes.
And I don't know if we ever talked about that on the show before, but this is a great time. What are foxholes?
You let us know what foxholes were. You opened up this foxhole for us.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, foxholes are holes that are smaller than the traditional 35 millimeter sprocket hole. And it's for the purpose of making room for a magnetic soundtrack. And because a lot of films, most of the films have soundtracks. But there are films that have magnetic soundtrack. And to make room for the magnetic soundtrack, they had to change the size of the hole to accommodate for the magnetic soundtrack. So it's a square hole as versus a rectangular hole on traditional 35 millimeter film. Why did they call it foxhole? Because 20th Century Fox started it.
Yep.
I believe. Yep,
Right.
that's why they call them foxhole. It was very popular with 20th Century Fox.
They will not fit a standard sprocket because,
Right,
Geoff,
right.
you brought one of your prints up once, a little piece of one, so that we could try it. And unless you have a Fox sprocket, so to speak, you can't run
Right.
those films.
That's right. You can't run them because, like you said, they'll damage the film. A
Yes.
regular sprocket will damage the foxhole print. So yeah.
Yes. Yep.
And for anyone uninformed, optical track, which you said is what is on most prints, are the little squiggles we referred to. Sometimes you've seen that represented on TV or video. And magnetic track is literally that. It's a strip of magnetic tape, like an old audio cassette you would have in your car or your boombox. That runs along the film, and it's a contact instead of a light shining through it. It's a contact, like again any tape deck.
There you go.
My next question, it's a two-parter sort of.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any print that is the one that got away for you?
Ooh.
And what print in your collection is your holy grail, if you're willing to tell us what your holy grail is? Or the crowning jewel, let's say, the crowning jewel of your collection.
The print that got away very easily because it was very recent. Warner Brothers reissue Dolby Stereo Mylar The Exorcist.
Oh.
I know, it hurt.
It still hurts.
It's I can tell. We can relate. We're on the same page. The Exorcist. I saw it on eBay and I said, I'm going to go for this. And I waited and waited and waited. I didn't bid on it because I didn't want to get into a bidding war with anyone to raise the price higher than what it was.
Yep.
Playing the game. I said, I still have a mortgage on my house, so I will much rather pay the mortgage than afford it. So let's not get into a bidding war to raise the price.
Yeah.
I'm going to bid on the film, and very high bid because I wanted it.
Yeah.
And lost the bid. I said, okay, that's fine. That's the nature of the beast. But what really got my goat was the bid never went through. That hurt.
Oh,
Oh,
so you're
bro.
left there clicking.
Oh, I was so mad. I deleted eBay off my phone. I just stopped. Get in. Close my account. I was mad.
He gave up collecting entirely.
Well, I gave up eBay entirely. Get it. Never again. Then I end up bidding on something else.
And for those who don't know, I mean, the significance of the Exorcist print, Friedkin doesn't allow 35 millimeter public screenings of The Exorcist. So really, the only way that you're going to enjoy it is if you got a home projector and you got a private print, and that one hurts.
And I got away. Yeah, that hurt. That one hurt. Now, my holy grail. Now, that's a little harder. Would say in 16, I would have to probably put it in gauges. In 16, I would have to say a very nice color scope print of the Goonies.
It's like a license to print money, that Goonies.
Right. I got it from a friend of mine in Columbus back in 2000, I think. I had a show in Columbus back in 2000. I've had that print since. And from what I understand, it's very rare for that title to have it in low fade color and scope in 16. It just doesn't happen.
Fantastic.
Oh, man. And my Holy Grail 35, well, that's even harder. I'm looking at a pile of 35 right now, and I'm trying to find the Holy Grail print. Oh, my goodness.
Well, certain ones always have that special meaning, you know. Even in my
Vinyl collection, the one that means the most to me isn't necessarily the most valuable, you know.
Right. Wow, that's a rough one. I have quite a few stuff in 35. I probably have about 50 feature films right now. Oof, big mistake. I have no room in the house.
Storage. The storage,
Right.
yes.
I tell you, let me see. Let's choose Avatar. Yes, let's
Ooh,
choose
that's a good
Avatar.
one, yeah.
Yeah.
All 10 reels.
Is it a 3D print?
No, it's not I wish it was a 3D print, an over and under print. No, but
Do you
it's
own
regular,
any 3D prints?
Not yet, but I do have a 3D lens, 3D projector lens, which was gifted to me. Someone in New
you're
York.
ready. You're ready.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm ready, and I have the 3D glasses, the real 3D glasses. Somebody who is shutting a theater down literally gave me a box of real 3D glasses.
Awesome.
Great. That's great.
You just wear them out to the grocery store. You got so many. You're like, this is just my style now.
Exactly. I'm telling you. The unique thing is that the 3D lens was originally used for Friday the 13th Part 3.
That's right, which we've seen. Were you at that screening, Mark? The Colonial screening?
No, but I've been to other contemporary screenings of that, and it's got the Paramount logo on that lens attachment, right?
Exact. Yep, it has a Paramount logo on the lens.
Wild.
It has all the directions and everything.
I think we have one of those too. Actually, it came with one of our film collections we bought. It comes in its own case,
comes in its own case.
Yeah, her sturdy case. It's got all the attachments. It's got all the paperwork, and it's got that nice, blue on white Paramount logo on the side.
Such a niche piece of film history. I love it.
Oh yeah. No, film collecting is fun. I'm going to keep doing it.
Oh yeah.
Well, let's get into it. It really blew the minds of many of the patrons, regulars, and staff at the Mahoning Drive-In Theater to hear that you have a whole other side life as DJ Geoffrey Cee. So, we know you love film. We know you collect. We know you do this projectionist thing. Who are you, man? How did you get into this whole world?
My goodness. Well, my other passion, which is music. I used to play trumpet all from middle school all through high school. And I got that was my understanding of music. I got my love of music from being raised in a musical family. My parents sang. We listened to a variety of music. We grew up mostly on jazz, classic rock, R&B, anything, whatever it was. We listened to quite a few genres of music in the house. So I developed this passion for music, and also, moreover, a passion for just taking existing songs and manipulating them. We would later call remixing them.
Yeah.
And that's how I started. Was mixing and making cassette tapes. And then I would take these cassette tapes to these high school parties, would crash these parties. I was never invited to any of them because I was a little nerdy kid. But this little nerdy kid had the baddest sex. Whoa!
The boys bringing the beats.
Boy bringing the beats. Oh, yes, the nerd is bringing the beats. Yes. That explode. So that went on. Finally, somebody said, there's a local radio station that's accepting remixes from listeners. Have you considered submitting a tape to the radio station? WEBB AM Baltimore, right there, Clifton and Dennison Streets at the time. It was once owned by the late James Brown.
Wow.
So I submitted a cassette tape. I still have that tape. It's on a TDK tape, TDK C60 tape, high bias. I still have it. It still plays. I submitted that tape to the radio station. They played it. And the date they played it was memorable because it was April 1st.
You're like, is this really happening? Or
Yep. As soon as I graduated high school, I'd say almost a year after I graduated high school, and I graduated in 82. April 1st, 1983 was my debut on radio. They played the tape. Why do I remember that date? Because it was April Fool's Day and no one would believe me.
calling everybody like,
You'll never believe it. Yeah.
Hey, I'm on the radio. Yeah. So I started submitting mixes to the radio station, And because of that, I started becoming very popular as a DJ. And that, my association with the AM radio station, a very popular AM radio station, was giving me parties. I was getting parties that I normally wouldn't get. And that really helped pay my way through school, through college. And I was getting records from the record store, and I started making so many connections from my association with radio. I joined a record pool. Now I was paying a monthly fee for a small monthly fee for a whole lot of records. So I was paying a fraction of the cost I was paying from going to a record store. Just join a record pool. Then I joined up with WPGC 95.9 in Washington, D.C. I was a mix show DJ. I played on Friday nights along with Albie D. And he's still doing what he's doing very well, I might add.
Yeah.
And I played at WPGC for, about 5-6 years. And it was from that point on, I started making connections with like a lot of people, major record labels, major record companies, and getting records directly from the source, I should say.
Yeah.
Remixes. I've had my first studio mix in '88, and I started doing remixes for Warner Brothers, Columbia, EMI, and Atlantic Records. On that helped me through school. So yeah, DJing was just another, just parallel with the film, you know.
Just another passion, another outlet, another means to express.
And it's funny because during the DJing, during that time, I had the passion to film, but the film took a back seat because I was so busy with school and then DJing and everything. But I still had that passion for film. It was right there. Just the beast fell asleep. And so I've been DJing.
Sometimes you have to jockey back and forth between the two, because I know in my career, sometimes the radio station was the main job and the theater job was the backup job. And then other years, the theater was the main job and the radio station was the backup job. So you sometimes have to swing both directions. Yeah.
That's true. Right. That is very true. Very true. So I have recent success. I've had a couple of #1 songs in the last year or so. And now I've been really busy with music, working on an album right now. I have one more song and then I have an album. So,
I love
great.
it.
That's great.
The fire, it's just always burning, man. You know, you are constant creativity. You are an anomaly. You really.
It's just like, of course he's a DJ. Well, we want to give you the opportunity to let people be able to find you so they can hear the music. Where can they find your music to tune in?
Sure, they could hear me on 2 radio stations. Actually, 2 radio stations and my own TV channel. 2 radio stations are handsonradio.fm. That's every Tuesday from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. And also on pressureradio.com. That's every Wednesday from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. And I have a Twitch channel, and you can catch me either on Fridays or Saturdays. It depends on how the wind blows. Well, I haven't have a steady show yet there, but that's typically between 3 and 5 p.m. either on Friday or Saturday.
That's great. That's fantastic. All these opportunities is making me twitch.
You set it up on a tee for him.
That's great.
Oh, I love it so much.
You have so much going on. You know, it really is such a gift, your presence and inclusion here at the Mahoning Drive and in our family. So is there anything else that you want to let people know as far as projects you got going on, things on the burner? I'm so excited about this album. It really, you know what it is? It makes me wonder, why the heck have we not had you out to DJ yet?
I should bring a couple of pieces of vinyl and have a little fun.
No joke. You would crush. We have guest DJs all the time. You're an actual DJ.
Yes, indeed, that would be fun. We'd have to make that work. So that would be a lot of fun. I can come and hang out with you guys.
All
I
day.
love hanging out with you guys.
All
But
day.
oh man, but projects. So I'm working on an album, and I am working on. I just got finished a record, a collaboration from with a guy named Dan Shiver, aka DJ Dan from New Jersey, and the song is called Adrenaline Rush. Adrenaline Rush.
Get you going.
And yeah, it was his idea. It was his idea for the project. Dan said, "Hey, Geoffrey, I have this idea for a song. I mean, the way you do your music, and every time you play your music, and every time I play your songs, it has so much energy. It's like an adrenaline rush. I want to make a song called Adrenaline Rush." I said, "Wow, that's actually a good idea." So Dan, tell you what I'll do. You send me the vocals. I don't care what you do. Just say Adrenaline Rush a couple of times. I'll handle it from there. And so I just finished it last night.
You're a wizard. You are a wizard.
It's a lot of fun. So this is going to be Dan's first record. So I'm going to be helping him through all the business stuff and everything like that, because he wants to get his foot into production now. He's been a DJ for a number of years, but now he wants to get into the songwriting and the production. So I'm going to go ahead and take him under my wing, so to speak, and walk him through the process of that. But that's so far, that's all I have. But there's probably going to be a lot more down the road for sure.
Always inspiring. It's really great.
And again, we can't thank you enough for all the help that you've also given us, whether it's locating prints, actually lending us prints, delivering prints.
Yes.
The list goes on and on. You know, your friendship, it means the world, and we're better having you. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
You guys are truly a blessing, and any excuse to get over there, even if I have to lend or deliver a print, as long as I get to see you guys, happy.
All right. Great.
The best. Well, we can't wait to see you opening weekend and having a blast once again.
And I think on that note, Geoff, take it away, my friend.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for coming out tonight to the Mahoning Drive-In Theater. We hope you'll come back and see us again real soon. The exit is on the right-hand side of the screen at the front of the field, and most importantly, have a very safe trip home. Good night, and God bless you.